Hi, everyone. Welcome to English 1302. This is the end of week 5 and really the beginning of week 6. I'd like to take a few moments and kind of review some of the basic things we discussed in class last night before the quiz. Just want to remind you, anytime you want to take the quiz in person, you're more than welcome to join us. We had several join us last night and everything went very well. One of the themes that you'll notice is repeated this semester is that of insanity. It wasn't something I did on purpose, just in picking the stories, it just seemed to pop up a lot. But insanity is an interesting theme because when you think about what insanity is, it's one definition. Well, there's lots of definitions. One definition is just behavior that is completely unpredictable or behavior that is inappropriate to the given circumstances or context. Lots of times we equate insanity with what a person's thinking or their mental processes, but we have no way of judging that other than their actions. In the story, A Rose for Emily, we saw a good example of a very low key form of insanity. The main character, Rose Grierson, uh, the story says some of her relatives on her mother's side, some of her aunts, had insanity running in their family. And based on um, Miss Rose's actions, it appears that that insanity has kind of followed her down the family tree. But it makes for interesting storytelling because if insanity means you can't predict what they're going to do or that their actions don't meet the context or their own personal needs, it creates a lot of interest. Next week, we're going to read um, A Cask of Amontillado. Now, this story is interesting for two reasons. Because, first of all, the main character, the protagonist, the storyteller, the narrator, is insane. He's just he's just flat out insane. And we have to ask ourselves, does that insanity make him an unreliable narrator? Can we even trust what he's telling us? Did he really do the things he said he did? Or is this just in his mind? An interesting fact to note on that story is if you'll read, it's either the last line or the second to the last line, when he says, all this happened 50 years ago. Half a century ago was when all this stuff happened. And so maybe his memory is playing tricks on him. Maybe he's remembering what he wished to happen or what he hoped he had done. Um, we just don't know. But uh, reread the definition of what an unreliable narrator is, and I think it'll help you understand that story better. Week 7, there's not really anything there, but week 8, we talk about the yellow wallpaper, which is, well, gosh, I hate to spoil the surprise for you guys, but it's a wonderful example of postpartum depression, which is, and which turns into insanity. This guy literally drives his wife insane because he's trying to help her. She has postpartum depression. She's just had a child, and as her hormones overwhelm her body, her mind is affected, and he doesn't know what to do. The problem is, he's a doctor, and he thinks he knows what to do. He thinks he knows what's best for her, so he keeps mistreating her condition, which makes it worse. And there's some irony in where they're staying. They've taken a house out in the country, and when you look at what the house is, you'll notice some interesting points there. But yeah, so insanity in its various forms um, is one of the things we'll be talking about a lot this semester. Also, for next week, in addition to the cask of Amontillado, and yeah, there are some words there you're going to have to look up. And some words, Edgar Allan Poe was famous for his word choice, his diction, and he used words that were old fashioned and obsolete even in his lifetime. For example, the word cask. It simply means a large barrel, but the word sounds like casket. Quite appropriate. We're also reading a very short story, The Shroud, and written by the Brothers Grimm. And the reason we read that story, the reason we include that in our semester, is because when we talk about what you need to have a short story, this is very short. It's only one paragraph. I think it's 7 sentences, but it has all the elements necessary. Now, it doesn't give us a lot of details, but it's an interesting short story. You need to look up what a shroud is and kind of read the story carefully. Also for next week, oh, we got the story of an hour. Um, not insanity. uh, No, not really, but it's an interesting situation. Pay attention to the sentence where she's thinking to herself, uh, okay, so this lady thinks her husband has died, and she has this storm of grief, but then she realized she's happy because he was oppressing her. He was micromanaging her, uh, but not in a mean or harmful way. He was doing it because he loved her. She says, yes, she loved him sometimes, but he always loved her. His face never looked upon hers without love. The word sans means without. So he loved her, and he's wanting to do what's best for her according to his culture. And his culture, the 1810s, said that men made the decisions. That if you loved your wife, you're going to take care of her by making all the decisions for her. Well, and of course, some women, I guess, maybe like that, but some women obviously don't. And so we see what happens when that kind of goes too far. But it's another interesting little short story. Won't take you long. I do encourage you to read these more than once. There's lots of details there. Take notes as you read them. Really, if you'll fill out that elements of formalism, print out copies. There's only 10 short stories this semester, so print out 10 copies and then just fill it out as we go through. It will really help you to understand the story better and remember it better. On Monday, I will post a revised assignment sheet with clearer due dates, because the first one I posted up, someone was asking about the due dates, and I realized I couldn't really tell exactly what it was. Well, because there's some gaps there, I think. But anyway, we'll talk some more about that on Monday. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And oh yes, let's talk real quickly about the second assignment sheet. Yes, even though we don't have the due dates down exactly right, um, a big part of this is source evaluation. Now, on your first paper, on the rubric, one of the main things, 20% of your grade comes from source evaluation. I just gave everybody full points on that because I selected the one source for you. So, yeah, you got full points there. Now, here on the second one, I've given you one of the sources, which is the short story, The Lottery, but you're going to have to find a second source, literally a secondary source. The short story is called the primary source, and then you're looking for a secondary source. And I promise I'll post another video on this next week, but it's super simple to do. If you want to, you can go to the library. The librarians are wonderfully helpful, and they really know how to do research. Or you can just go to Google Scholar. Online, google.com/scholar is a search engine just for academic research. It's intended to be used for college students. When you're looking for a good source, you have to evaluate the sources out there. There's lots of bad sources. There's lots of bad information. So you want to choose the sources which are the very best, the very, very best. And so we look for things like authority. Does it have an author? Depth. Is it long enough? Timeliness. Is it not too old? And citation. Does it include citations in the source, or do other sources cite it? Either one. I don't care. But if you use googlescholar.com, it will tell you all that. Just on the results page. You don't even have to open up the source itself. It'll just tell you who the author is, how many citations it has, the date it was published, the number of pages it contains. So everything you need to know just right there. And again, you only need one. What I recommend you do is this. Now, this is your assignment, and you're welcome to do any way you want to. But of course, you want to list The Lottery by Shirley Jackson as one of your sources. And then I would encourage you to look up on Google Scholar either irony or theme or setting or diction or whatever one of the elements of formalism you're going to use to explicate the short story, and tell us about that. Explain what irony is, explain what setting is, explain how diction is used in the short story. And if you have any questions, please drop me a quick email. I can hit reply and give you some wonderful words of advice. I've used this assignment in the past, and so I think I can help you out with that a little bit. But I encourage you, don't wait too late. You need to get started on it here pretty quick. It looks like the outline is due the 26th. So you got 13 days. Can that be right? Anyway, so be thinking about insanity versus the unreliable narrator. Be thinking about the plot of these stories, although the plot is not always the key element to understanding a story. If we look at those elements of formalism and we look at those types of literary criticism, sometimes those tools can be more helpful than what's actually happening in the story. Y'all read. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll talk some more next week.